Hello and welcome to this week's episode of My CP Does Not Define Me, where we focus less on the dis and more on the ability of what we can do. Join us every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, live on the Disability Global Broadcast and Facebook Live. Looking forward to seeing you there.
What's up, party people? It is me. It is D to the J with a roll away, and we are live on the Disability Global Broadcast, Facebook Live, StreamYard for episode 78. Yes, we're getting older of My CP Does Not Define Me. And we have a very special guest this afternoon, our returning Devin Brown. For part 2, we may have him back for a part 6. We don't know. Devin, how are you? Welcome back.
Doing good. Getting older. Yeah, I'm looking at the screen going, I've lost a lot of hair.
I just turned 40 in December. And like the 3 days before my birthday, I had like this midlife crisis. Oh God, I'm turning 40. I don't know what to do. And my mom looks at me and goes, I'm 66. Get over it.
That's
like,
right.
I have food older in the fridge older than you. Go.
Yeah, 40 was a I don't know, life mark, but it's pretty far in the rear view mirror for me now.
Well, I tell you, we were talking the other day. There are some people that are older and they don't look their age, and they're like, "You're like, are you 30 something?" And they're like, "No, I'm 60." I'm like, "What? Wait a minute!" Like, did my generation must have skipped good genes, because I can tell where we're at. So for those of us that don't know who you are or don't know, haven't met you yet, do me a favor and just kind of introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us a little bit about you, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Yeah. Well, first off, I met DJ back, I think, in 94.
92.
So 92? Was it 92?
Yeah.
See, now you're making me even older. So met at Easter Seal Camp in Virginia in Caroline County. And so that was my first full-time job out of college. And I was there for about 15 years or so. And then I worked in a psych hospital for a couple summers or for a couple years. And then I worked here at Hanover Parks and Rec, primarily focused on the therapeutic rec program for about 16 years now. So that's been kind of my background.
So now you're a people person, and now you've worked with psychology as well. I mean, is it more of, do you kind of go, okay, this is too much? Do you kind of have to set your limits of what you're dealing with?
I don't think so per se. I did enjoy working at the psych hospital, but I did not like seeing the same kids come back, because they were still kind of getting in that cycle of sort of disruptive behavior. And I really missed the camp experience, and Parks and Rec had a camp experience. So when that position came available, I applied for that and left the psych world and got back into kind of camp. Not the same as Easter Seals, but similar anyway.
Well, I want to talk just a little bit about, if we can, I kind of want to start our journey kind of where we left off on our last show, which was ages ago.
Yeah. Should I introduce the people behind me?
Oh yeah. Why don't you let us in on your furry friends back there?
Behind me, so coming to you live from Parks and Rec office, we have the folks from Paw Patrol, if anybody's familiar with Paw Patrol. So Sky and Chase from Paw Patrol, and then I think got a puppy over there. So It's not your imagination. They are here in the room.
No animals or puppets were filmed in the making of this show.
Or harmed either. That's right.
And I want to go into, your photography, man, because I'm going to tell you, you've always had a camera in your hand, and there are, I'm pretty sure, like, main guys that are going, oh, these pictures are, because you have probably the most interesting knack for getting natural pictures, people being in there. to where, because I just got so used to it. After the first year, I was like trying to get the shot. I was like,
yeah, yeah, definitely. Some people are posing. And that really helped. I think it helped kind of the moment. When people, if you look happy, then people start to be happy. So I think it was a little hand in hand. But camp's one of the best places to take pictures of.
But to get away from the, can you take my picture? Will you take my picture? And just to take it, and where I'm like, I remember, we were talking about camp a little bit, and of course we'll get back into that. I was going up the tree climb for the first time, and I'm scared to death. And you got a shot of me looking up, going, I ain't going up there. I mean, was that something that, did you go to school for that? Or, I mean, did you just start doing it? How did you get so evolved in the life of photography?
So my undergrad was journalism, but I never actually took any classes in photography. I just always had the best. So before I worked at Easter Seals in Virginia, I worked summers at Easter Seals in Pennsylvania. And there's just so much going on at camp in a given day that you have so much stuff to capture that fortunately that's where all my money went, was to film and to processing. But I'm so glad that I did that, because I have all these memories that I can share from back. I started in '83 at Pennsylvania. And if you want a great environment to take pictures, going to a camp where everybody's having fun, you can't not get a good picture.
When you look back at the memories, it's in 2022, 2021 is behind us, thank God.
Hard to believe.
But I won't say 2021 was a bad year for me. It was a good year. I mean, as far as, I got a lot of things done. What do you go and look at those memories now and say, okay, it's 2022, man, I remember this. Do you instantly go back to where you were when you look at a lot of them?
A lot of times. I think sometimes my memory may be a little not accurate. So I may picture things better than they were. But yeah, oftentimes I can almost smell the cooking. I can feel the outdoors from certain photos that just, for me, bring back the memory. For somebody else looking at it may not evoke that, but for me, does call me back.
Right. So is there anything new going on in 2022 for you? I mean, how was your New Year's? How was your holiday? What was, is there anything new going on?
It was great. I feel I'm more sheltered these days than other days. And we're doing a lot of programs here at Parks and Rec, but they're much smaller groups. So we don't do a lot of the big group activities, which you do miss out a little bit of that. But I'll be going up to see my mom in a few weeks. I saw her in November, but I did not see her over Christmas. And she's doing well. Her eyesight is failing her. She's got macular degeneration. So she doesn't see as well as she used to, but those of you guys who may have known my mom from camp, she also worked as the camp nurse. Connie, yes. It's hard to call her Connie, but yeah.
She was, and then you talk about a sweet lady.
Yeah.
She to be a nurse, because there was Teresa before Connie, if I'm not mistaken, and
they both were there at the same time, I think.
Yeah. You those nurses cared for those kids, and to bring all the pills and everything like that, and schedules, and I'm like, man, I just had fun. I weren't worried. When my pills got there, I was just like, okay,
let's go.
Next thing. But she was just so genuine in her style, and each had a style in that. So
she would tell you how she felt too. So even if it wasn't what you wanted to hear, she would.
So is there anything new going on for you right now? What's going on in the life of Devin now?
Mostly work, photography. Certainly, I love photography anytime I can get out. And I'm not sure what's next. I played the lottery, but I did not win. So I'm still working.
I'm just saying, the funny part was I knew this show was coming up, and I looked on my calendar and I said, $12 million. That's all I need. $12 million. I want to go into a little bit. You mentioned I've seen a lot of your birds that you get, eagles and things like that. you've done, you were certified, you're certified climber. I mean, you've done all that to get into, there's a lot of things that you do. What don't you do is my thing, because you're everywhere. I mean, you've got pictures of you on the side of mountains. You've just kind of embraced life, man. What an experience you've had and you still embrace life at camp. And see, this is the outside of camp where we didn't get to talk much, because you were running around like a chicken with your head cut off, doing so many things
right
as camp director. Now, kind of to get into your life a little bit, is photography an outlet for you?
Oh, absolutely. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. So it's creativity, it's artistic. Not that I'm not artistic, but it's just something to do. And I enjoy it very much. It is a release. At the psych hospital, we would talk a lot about having good avenues for your energy, and that's a great one for mine. So.
Yeah. You do you have a favorite photography shot? Do you have one shot that you've taken that you just absolutely love?
I no.
He had to think about that one, folks.
Sometimes I get tired. Like I don't have very many things printed at my house, just because I don't want to look at it after a while. Like I want something different. So my short attention span is like, if I had a permanent picture of something, it'd be like, well, I'm tired of that one.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But that's the thing about photography. When you get tired of looking at one thing or one style, there's so many different things you can take pictures of. Hey, Siobhan, welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in. Devin is very fit and this dude, there's nothing he can't do. So
that's why I come on this show. So my ego.
I tell you, you talk about moments, and going to camp for a second. I can't imagine. I was at camp for 8 years, but I can't imagine being director for 15 and then having to leave. Like, how? I guess my hardest question would be, or my question would be, how do you pull yourself away from that? Because there's so much involved in it, but you meet so many people, and you immerse yourself in this role as camp director, which is hard. And nobody knew the hard side, and they weren't supposed to, because it was camp, which meant you did your job. Right. And I'll tell you, I have been to a lot of camps, but I have not met a camp director you were involved with the people, but you were also very job oriented. You did things properly. It ran smoothly. You had a great staff to help you. Was it hard to pull yourself away from that? I mean, just to get out of it?
It was. And I know you weren't there for 2002. My last summer.
I think summer was 2001.
You're 2001. And in 2002, I thought, I think I've done the best I can. Not to say that everybody was perfect in any summer, because nobody was. But I thought, that was probably a smoother summer overall. And I thought, if I want to go out, I want to go out on top. And that was sort of a good stopping point for me. I certainly miss it, but I knew I needed something else in my life outside of work as well. So that's, I know Alex from Easter Seals just recently left from Camp West, and he was there about as long as I was at East. Right. So I don't know what triggered that or anything, but I think there was an adjustment period for the first couple of years of, well, normally if it's like 11 o'clock, I'm still working. But it was just sort of time, and you get older and you don't move as well. So.
Well, I can relate to that one, Well, I can go down the stairs, or I can just throw myself down there and see what happens. But I love the fact that you stuck with it, and but it wasn't just a job to you, I don't think.
Right. I was married basically to camp.
It never seemed like it was. I mean, because I remember Beth, that was a camper that she could say very little, but her two favorite words were camp, and then when she got to camp, it was home.
Sure.
So
right.
Camp and home. Right. Camp and home. But if you remember Rebecca, She loved you. She absolutely from like the time I was 12 years old is when my first summer was in 92 with Tatiana, all the way till I was 21 and I finished school. Rebecca was, where's Devin? Where's Devin? Where's Devin? And it was there were campers that were, I don't say attached, but yeah, kind of, sort of. It just, you knew what that 12 days of summer was going to be. You know, that was your getaway from all of it. But it never seemed like a job for you, and I love that. It was natural, you know.
And, you know, I don't have any children, but I always kind of felt very parental towards the campers, even those that were older than me. You knew I had a much longer history with them than the staff coming in each summer. So I knew I wanted them to be treated properly. And I think just having that history was really what invested me.
Well, and they picked the right person. I'm gonna tell you, when you got interviewed for this thing, I'm glad they picked you. But I'm gonna ask you a question about camp I've never asked you before.
Okay.
Because we talked about it a little bit. There were different sessions. There were sessions for mental disabilities. There were sessions for physical disabilities, cerebral palsy, spina bifida, that kind of thing. The adult session, which was a transition when you were 18 to 21, I think. What was that transition like? Because I know it was only 8 days, and it was totally different from what I never went to the adult session.
You couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it.
Initially, the adult sessions were as long as the kid sessions, and they were all 12 days. But we got such a great demand for them that we switched them to 2 6-day sessions to give everybody a shorter period, but at least a chance to come to camp. There's a little bit more freedom I found in the adult sessions. And I think particularly those that I knew as kids that became adults, some at first was a little weird transition. I remember one person, she wanted to smoke right away when she was in the adult session. And I thought, but wait a minute, you didn't bring your own cigarettes. If you don't bring your own cigarettes, and granted, it sounds really weird now that people want to smoke. But in the adult sessions, we did permit that if you were of age and you brought your own stuff. And that wasn't certainly the focus of camp. But where was I going with that story? I don't know. But
it's all right.
But it did have a lot more freedom. And we didn't want to treat the adults as kids, because I think if you're an adult and you get treated like a kid, you're probably going to resent that too. So,
you know, were the activities kind of you could go if you wanted, or was it just a big hangout session sort of?
It was. We really motivated folks to try to go to the activities. We didn't want them just to hang out, but if they wanted to go to the activity and hang out there, that's fine. It was more free choice, but it's not like boot camp where if you didn't want to do it, you're an adult. Hey,
yep, you can do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Got one more for you, and this is I've always wanted to know this. I wanted to personally thank my sponsor for 8 years. I mean, I think it was about almost $2,000 per session, close to. I did a lot of research and I talked with you a lot. to go to a camp like that with the meals and the counselor and that's a lot of money. I mean that's to run that and to run it smoothly and to keep it going, you got to have help. How did the sponsorships come about?
I know women's clubs were a big supporter for us. So they were huge. We also had a lot of corporate folks. And to be honest, there was a whole another staff that didn't work at camp that did a lot of fundraising.
Really?
So like there's an office in Richmond. There used to be an office in Virginia Beach that would do fundraising and do scholarships. And I always thought they had the worst job in a way because they had to do all this work, but they didn't get to experience camp themselves. So they're kind of doing a lot of work for what they don't get to see. And certainly sometimes the spin would be a little bit not what I wanted, whereas a little bit more sort of, all these poor campers, let's help them out. I didn't care for that. But for those that really got the vision of this is an opportunity to go out and experience things, that's what we wanted to sell.
Well, my second mom said the world definitely needs more people like you, and she's right. I remember doing the Camp Easter Soul Telethon. And once I went the first year, I don't know if you know this story. I don't know if I told you. I
I'm
may
not sure.
have. When I went the first year, I was actually very tentative because it was my first time away from home. I had never been on that side of being anywhere. But when my parents left, man, I was like, oh God,
Goodbye.
goodbye. But the fun that I had that first year, and I had never experienced anything like that, to have a room full of people that were like me. So, not only did you bring people together in the same room that were disabled, but it didn't matter. We could do anything. We could canoe, we could fish, we could tree climb, dear Lord. We could have Llama Land. And a lot of people don't know what Llama Land is. I'll explain that.
It's funny. I forgot about Llama Land.
Oh, no, you can't forget about Llama Land. A bear to the eye is a bear to the eye. But it's amazing because people started to feel what normal was supposed to be. Because normal to us then was, we're in the same room, we're together, this is great. We did arts and crafts. There was so much stuff. My first year, when I went home, I told Mom I have to go back. There was a pull, and I'm like, I can't leave. She's like, what are you talking? I don't want to go back to that. That's not, my world anymore. Yeah. Once you get a taste of, like, I called it heaven. I said, if I die between now and next year, bury me right there. There was a tree before you go into camp, that big tree right before by the parking spots, right before you go up to registration of the big red desk that you sat at.
Right.
I said, right there, that's my spot.
Yeah.
And I cried the entire way home. 3 hours. Mom said, I've never seen you cry so hard in my life. I said, I can't explain it. You get a room full of people that is like you, and they understand you, and you don't have to say anything.
Right.
Yeah. But I think not having to worry about, is the bathroom too small? Are the beds too small? How am I going to get in bed? How am I going to get out of bed? How am I going to get my meals? That wasn't a thought to us. We just existed, and it was
right. Yeah.
Great.
And like you said, it's very hard to explain, I think. Even for the staff at the end of the summer are just so emotional. But then they go talk to friends who work somewhere else over the summer, like, okay, so whatever. But it's really such a life-changing thing for so many folks.
Would you describe your last year at camp a little bit? What was it like for you? We can kind of converse, because I remember my last year too.
My last year, I kind of knew going into it that it might be my last summer.
Had you made up your mind yet?
Not completely.
If I was there, you would have stayed.
So I knew I was really treasuring every session as it was going on, but I didn't make any announcement or anything. But for some reason, things were just clicking, and it doesn't always click every year. And it may click in some sessions, but not others. But this, and I can think of some staff that were not very good at very last summer. Not many, but so I'm not saying it was perfect, but I just felt it was kind of a good way to end. Like your favorite TV show that may go off the air, where if the last year is great, maybe they know they've done it and are ready to do something else.
So we were talking a little bit about Camp Now. What's going on with Camp Now that you know of?
Yep. So after I left, it was camp for one more summer. They closed actually the summer after I left because they couldn't find a replacement.
They won't.
And actually, I thought they'd hire this other person, but then they put all their eggs in one basket and didn't. But then they opened up, and so I left 2002. 2003, Easter Still East was closed. 2004, it was open. And then in 2005, they sold it just because Easter Stills was in a tough spot. So after they sold it, it first became a rehabilitation spot for women with eating disorders or
I
girls with
remember
eating
that.
disorders, but and they did a lot of renovations to camp. They actually took out the pool, which is very sad, and put up a parking lot. But they expanded a horseback riding area, so that really got revamped. It was that way for a few years, and then I think funding or insurance quit paying for them to go to that place, so they backed out. And then it opened up as it was Abundant Life Academy, which was like a residential program for at-risk youth. And it was only that for like a year or so, and then they had some abuse charges, and then the county closed them down. And then it got sold to, I'm not sure how to say it, but DEVASYA, Devsaya, something like that.
Devsaya sounds right to me.
And it's a Hindu retreat center that just recently opened in the last year during COVID. So that's where it is now.
Well, and I'll be honest, when camp got tore down, you sent that video out. I never finished it. I couldn't.
Yeah. A
lot of people couldn't. But to be honest, I'm glad that it's getting used to help people.
Mm-hmm.
But in my opinion, and that's exactly what it is, because this show is, about helping people. When you have something as good as that camp was, and you can't find a person to run it, I'm going, and I said, if you remember, it was year 6. I said, Devin, if you retire, they'll never find another one. Because you have to have knowledge here, and you have to have knowledge here about people. Camp was about existing in a world with a disability, but it's not going to be hard on you. And meaning the person with the disability or the person that's running it, because you were working all hours, man. It's like you never had a day off, but you never let anybody know that anything bothered you. And
to be honest, I don't think much did. I mean, certainly I was stressed out at times. But I do think that the people that they tried to get, camp was so remote. I think the remoteness of camp in the off season, where there is probably isolation with all that, I think that was probably more of a challenge than the operation in the summer. I think finding someone who wanted to live out in the middle of nowhere and be isolated like that probably was a big factor in some folks not staying.
Yeah. I know, and I've told Miss Wilson this before. If I ever win the lottery, I know and this has been. I used to sit and talk with Melvin, and I literally have this written out. I still have it to this day, a written out thesis of how I was going to buy camp, and I would want to restore it to the colors that it was, but I would want to make it better. And I thought about it at first. I wanted to originally restore it the exact way it was. And Miss Wilson said, why? I said, because that was camp to me. She said, yeah, it was camp to you, but wouldn't you want to make it better for people? And I'm like, better than what it was. We have the technology. We can't. And I thought about but I thought about, and the second I said that, I would want to bring you in, not as the director. Well, I kind of would, but it's. I would want you to just have the experience again of not having any strings attached, to be able to be Devin and be around and have that rhythm that you always had to go back to. But I want to bring new people in that have never been and never gotten a chance to go to camp and say, here, do this.
Right. Yeah.
You want to know what it's like to live free for a little bit? Do this.
Yeah.
Because the counselors, man, those volunteers, they were volunteer people. A lot of people don't know that. They came in and I think they got like, what, $1,000 a summer?
It wasn't much. I don't remember the exact dollar, but
man, it was like, I mean, that, and they worked hard because there was like, what, 7 or 8 sessions in the summer?
At least 7. And then I think if you include the camp for kids with sickle cell, 8. So it's about 11 and a half weeks. So
I got to tell you, that camp changed my life. I grew into a man going into that. That's you look at 8 years and you think, well, it's 8 years. when you look forward to something every single year, I'm like, don't contact me between this time and this time, because July 22nd through August 2nd, I'm gone. And I remember one year, my mom, the year I didn't get to go. Did you know about that? Did I tell you about that?
I think we talked about it last time where the space had filled up already before you got. Yeah.
I don't know if we didn't get the paperwork on time or what happened, but space filled up. And I'm just like, what?
And I think you may have even been offered a 6-day session, and you said, nope, 6 days, not enough. I can't remember if that's right or not.
You're right.
Is that right?
I couldn't do it. Miss Edwina said, I'm sure it would be awesome, an awesome feeling being able to feel free for those that never had that opportunity. I remember the moment that it happened, and the realization hit me that I wasn't going. And I'm going, you moron, you turned out 6 days. Why? Like, I called you. And I'm like, Devin, please. I was addicted to it, man. It was the greatest experience. And you know, I never realized this. It took me a while to realize this. Yes, it was the things that we did and the things that we had together, but it was the people that made the experience so joyous, because who would want to go to camp by themselves?
Right.
It's the staff and the people and the food and the activities. It is, in essence, that rolled into one package.
Yeah, it's definitely the combination of all that. And you got the nature and you got all that. So, and it looks like I remember Liz from Easter Seals. She's come to East maybe a couple summers, but going to Camp West and still loves it. So
I couldn't do West, man.
I think you could.
No air conditioning. No.
Well, I think they may have air conditioning now.
Oh, they vamped it up.
I'm not sure, but you have to ask Liz.
I want to ask you this, and we'll move a little bit. What is, if you could pick just a couple, do you have any favorite moments from Camp Easter Seal that you'd like to share or talk about?
Gosh, anybody going on the tree climb or the zip line, just right there. And I remember there's some folks who weren't very good at communicating. And for the most part, I think we waited for them to give me at least some kind of yes before we threw them off the ledge. And for some that didn't say yes right away, when they finally did, that really made a difference. Where you went, okay, all right, I know you're going to love it, but until you give me that yes, I'm going to we're going to not push you off. That's kind of a big step.
Miss Wilson asked, "Hey Liz, hi Liz, what is the age group for Camp West?" That's a good. Do you know the age group there?
I think they have all sessions like we did at East, but I'm not sure if I'm up to date. So, is
West near East? Because I've never.
West is out by Roanoke, so it's a good drive from where you are. Good drive from where I am. But so it's probably even more scenic though than East was, because it's up in the mountains and the scenery there is amazing.
Okay. And you don't know if it's 12-day sessions or 6-day sessions, or?
I want to say 6-day, but I'm not sure.
Okay. So you're, we said we were going to talk about this, and I want to talk about it before we get to what we have planned later on. Llama Land. We had certain activities.
You better describe it, because I think I remember.
Okay. So if you remember, Llama Land was you're inside a room full of stuffed animals, and your stuffed animals sitting back there reminded me of it. I'm like, Llama Land. So there's 2 teams, okay? And we're divided up into units, right? So all of a sudden, one team is over on the one side, and there's cushions, okay? And you got this fort of cushions. And the other team is over on the other side, and they got the fort of cushions and bed sheets and towels. And everybody bucks down. And there's a pile of stuffed animals in the middle of the room. and campers divulge out from beneath the cushions and grab them and start cannon bolting animals left and right.
It sounds terrible, really, when you describe it that way.
It was the funnest. I have never had so much fun with stuffed animals in my entire life. I remember the first time I saw it happen, I'm like, what in the name of God is going on? And bam, I get pelted with a panda. And I just like, okay, and I get right back in there. What a great experience. But you talk about, the women's club and the sponsors. Doing the women's club tours was my favorite thing. I mean,
Sure,
surrounded by 25 women, who wouldn't love that?
You were made for that. That was
that's what I became known for. Oh, the women's club tours of the giant suck up. I'm like, oh no. I loved everything about it, and I'm just so happy that you were able to be part of it as long as you were. So with Camps and Rec, or Parks and Rec now, you said that does kind of have a feel of
similar. It's a day camp that we offer, and really with COVID, we really have scaled back quite a bit. So I've not had quite that same camp experience.
Mm-hmm.
I do more short-term programs, and also I'm kind of the ADA guy for our department.
Oh,
so
nice.
making sure that so I got my certification in that. So if I see sort of an issue where something's not quite accessible enough, and it's not only physical accessibilities, but programmatic, where if we need to provide additional staff for support for someone to participate in the program, that's part of the ADA as well.
So a lot of people don't know that, Devin. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. So if you want to go to a program, usually when you register for a program, there's a spot there for special accommodations. And your special accommodation may be that, particularly it may be more for kids or adults with autism or such, where if they need a better staff ratio, they can put that in there. And if it's a big enough department, they should be able to make that accommodation and be considered a reasonable accommodation.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the physical stuff, county buildings and all, are pretty good at making sure there's ramps and all that type of physical adaptations. But where we struggle sometimes is making, picture schedules or something that's more appropriate for someone, like you mentioned, Beth, who maybe would have done better with a picture board for her to give us a response of what she wants.
Yes.
That's a reasonable accommodation that you can ask a department. Could you incorporate this into your program so that Beth could give you some good feedback?
Do you realize now that you're still breaking down barriers of disability, which is so awesome? I mean, I've always been able to communicate. I talk myself out of my chair, and I'm lucky. Right. I consider my cerebral palsy a blessing. I would never change it. If I was offered a pill today to be able to stand up and run around, I wouldn't take it, because the gap that you're lessening with communication with disabilities, with understanding what people need with disabilities. Let me ask you this, and this is kind of what this show is about, and we've talked a little bit about it last time too. What do you think we need to do as a people to bridge the gap of communication when you approach someone with a disability, when you want to talk to them? What do you think we need to do as a people?
Well, I think, even within, I think, my own department, sometimes it'll be like if somebody with a disability comes up, be quick, get Devin, but I would rather everybody just be prepared and feel comfortable to have this interaction where maybe people don't want to talk to me. They want to talk to another customer service person. So if everybody sort of gets the background knowledge of, hey, maybe ask yes or no questions to kind of get rolling. Maybe ask them if they can look up for yes and down for no. If you had a picture schedule or picture thing for them to choose what they want, they'd much rather meet more people than just meet me every time, as great as I am. but
But that's a good point, because if you're giving the information and we're all sitting around, what I like though is you want everybody that's disabled with different disabilities or different abilities to give feedback, because you want to see where everybody's coming from.
right.
Is there a moment, kind of a breakthrough that you've had in Parks and Rec where you've been able to, wow, I didn't think of that, and now this happened?
So sometimes we get some kids, and I see this more with our kids than with our adults. Kids with pretty challenging behaviors, and I think sort of the breakthrough for someone to see that that behavior is not necessarily to get a reaction from you, but they're trying to communicate. And if we just kind of take behavior as communication, figure out what is this behavior really signaling? Am I stressed out? Am I overwhelmed? And if we can sort of break down that behavior to figure out what to do next, maybe I need to be in a smaller group. Maybe this is overwhelming. Maybe I didn't know. A lot of folks really need to know what's coming up next. Like if you know what's going on now, what's going on next, and what's going after next, you're usually pretty good.
Right.
But if you've got that level of anxiety where you don't know what's happening, probably more behaviors will come out. So I think I've learned a little bit more about behaviors than I did from Easter Seals, because Easter Seals was probably more of a typical happy place.
Big. Yeah. Is it more, it's more personable now for you because it's smaller groups and you're able to devote more time to the individual and not having to, oh my God, I got to do this.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some programs now I would never have been able to do with bigger groups. So,
well, and it's, to see you now, and this is cool because I don't know this side, and I'm like, well, maybe I should get involved in Parks and Rec. Maybe I should do something. I've never thought about it because I've never seen myself on that side.
right.
I've always been the camper.
Right. Yeah.
I've
No,
never
you'd be
seen
great.
myself as the director, but you and I have a lot in common as far as knowledge and knowing about disabilities and how to. So it's something I've never thought of, and I'm like, am I missing something here? And then that's kind of where the moment that I'm talking about, when you talk to somebody and they're going, there's a grant for that, there's a this for that, I didn't know that was a thing. This is opening up doors. Somebody listening to this show could say, wait a minute, Parks and Rec, I didn't know that was a thing.
Right.
My child has this disability. How do I get them there?
Right.
How do you get involved with your Parks and Rec for your stay? Is there a certain thing that you have to do to find them, or what?
We just have like our website, and people register for programs. And then if they need a special accommodation, that's one of the questions we ask as part of, your name, address, and all that. And then if people want to volunteer, we use like a volunteer website that just kind of describes the experience, and then the dates and all that.
When we get off the air, if you wouldn't mind, if you want to tell the website that you have while we're on the air, but put it in the comments so actually people can go to it.
Sure.
And they can look around. So where is your Parks and Rec located? Is it in Virginia or is it?
Yeah, it's in Virginia. It's north of Richmond, near King's Dominion is always kind of our landmark. So
okay. Now, are there other Parks and Rec for other cities, or is it just by state?
Most counties or cities have at least a Parks and Rec department, and maybe one person, depending on where you live, or maybe like Henrico, Virginia Beach is huge.
Okay. Well, I've got one more question before we get to what we want to get to, because I know you've prepared something special. It's the R word, the retirement. I mean, looking at what you're doing right now, you look like you're enjoying life to the fullest. And I don't see an age, because an age is just a number, but it's based on how you feel and looking at, really what you want to do. How long do you see yourself doing this? Do you say, okay, I've got to slow down a little bit? Or is this just, and not to say this phrase, do you coast through and just do this for the rest of your life and be happy with it? What's good for you now?
Yeah, like when you go to a job interview and they say, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I'm terrible at that question. I never have a vision. But I do like what I do. I don't like government side of things. I think government can be very red tapish, and there's a lot of hurdles and all that. But it pays the bills. So for that side, I put up with the government part. Fortunately, the programs that I've got and the people that I work with are great. So it's that really makes for a great experience. But the government sort of thing sometimes weighs you down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, you said you really don't have a vision for the next 5 years. Devin, you've always had a vision, and your vision has been people, your interaction with people, and just how they can be uptight about something or worried about something, and you'll go, well, let me try this, and just making it easier to exist. It's hard enough in this world to know what normal is, because everybody has to figure out their own normal. Everybody has to figure out their own piece of who they are, because your normal is based on who you are. And I love that about the things that you've done, and you've gone through, as you said, 40 was a long time in the rearview mirror, but I'm looking at 40 and I'm going, you know what? Maybe when I turn the page, maybe right now buying Camp Eastersill is not realistic, but I'm going to keep it back there. But maybe Parks and Rec is. Maybe opening my own community center for people with disabilities is an option. You've got to start somewhere, and it's just amazing that you decided to take the path that you took. God chose the right man for the job. I think that you've done extremely well with what you have done, and I want to see you continue to succeed and just continue to grow in your photography with Parks and Rec, and with the knowledge of letting people know that it's okay to live your life to the fullest with a disability. No matter what type of disability you have, you can find an option. And the picture board was a great analogy. So what if you can't talk? So what if you communicate with your eyes? You've got to find, you've broken through so many barriers from camp all the way till now. That's why doing a show like this is so powerful. That's why, having a show for people to see that it's okay to have a mental disability. You can still exist and be appreciated. No matter of that, you can find your normal.
Right.
And I really appreciate that. You've shown a lot in that, and this is the happiness that people need to find, in accepting themselves is part of that, I think.
And what I love most about staying in touch with folks from camp is seeing where they are now. I probably could have guessed that you'd be a DJ radio personality. That would have made sense. But just to see sort of where a lot of folks are, like Eric Ingram with the space stuff, Catherine Montgomery with her advocacy things, it's amazing, this sort of group of people that you meet, and now they're all adults and grown up and setting the world on fire as well. So.
You look at, remember James Geeter?
Geeter
Jr. Another one that's talking about on Facebook, putting positive motivational messages up.
Yeah.
He contacted me the other day. And then we'll get to this. There's a scene that I don't know if you remember. We had done an arts and crafts project outside. We were making visors with the puffy paint and signing them. And I left my visor on the table to dry.
Okay.
And I go down the hill, and you know how big that hill is where we had morning wake up. I'm all the way down the hill, and I hear DJ, and James has got the visor in his hand and turns his chair on high and flies down the hill to bring me my visor. And I'm like, I stopped, and I was mesmerized. Like, he saw me working on that thing, and I'm like, dude, thank you.
And I could picture, like, in another environment where somebody, like a staff person, may say, "Oh, okay, I'll give it to DJ." No, this was Geeter's thing to give to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't going to let nothing stop him. And
Right.
I had a chance to meet his mom, and she told me what an impact I had. And I never thought about that. I mean, as a camper, I'm just hanging out with people I like, but to get into this next thing, because I want to make sure we have enough time, you created a slideshow and of camp, east to west, I think you called it. And this is a powerful slideshow. You want to pull that up, and we
Sure.
will
Yeah.
we can talk a little bit about it as we'll get it shared here.
Let's see here. Oops. I'm not as technical. Hang on.
That's all right. That's all right.
Let me start with share screen, and then you guys will just have to bear with me while I do this. Share screen.
Yep, because we got to get it into the stream here first. Once you get it pulled up, I'll pull it into the stream. And I actually checked with Miss Wilson to have a little bit of extra time, so we do have a little bit of extra time here. We'll go ahead and get it pulled up. There we are. So this is Camp Eastersill as it was, and Camp West also.
And so that's from a helicopter shot. I did not go up in the air as when the helicopter came, if you guys remember who came to camp.
Yep. I remember sitting in that thing. Where's the missile launcher? Oh, wow. Yeah.
Oh, there's Marshall and Adam.
Adam, yep. Adam and E-Love. Yep.
So I think the fishing dock is no more. I think that has fallen apart.
There's Deb. Oh man, the watermelon relay. I remember that. Betsy,
And Amber and Betsy.
Amber. They were two best friends. Man.
Yeah, so the zipline was always a favorite.
Yep. Those are great pictures. Looking at the window, see, that's what I'm talking about.
And it's funny to me, like if I show this to somebody who's like a very young person, they'll say, "Wow, you can tell that's from the 80s or 90s." And to me, it doesn't. I don't see it right away. That's right. There's Rebecca.
Yep.
And Anthony on the zipline.
Mm-hmm. Man. Oh.
And Kevin, if you guys know Kevin.
Yeah, there's the upward view. You can see how far down.
Oh, it's glad I never dropped my camera from up. Oh, Kylene, if anybody remembers Kylene.
I don't know if I remember her.
Yeah, she might have been before your time.
There's Luke, I think.
Lenny, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Liz and Elena.
Elena.
Marshall.
Marshall when he was young. That's Marshall when he was like 8 or 9.
Very young, very young. Yep.
Wow. Oh, man. That is a beautiful shot. Goodness. Whoa.
Yeah, it does look like camper torture there, but
yeah, water fight. Oh, there's one of the campouts. Those were great. Man, the canoes. That was fun.
Marshall again.
Mm-hmm. Marshall again.
Sorry, it's like the Marshall show.
That's all right. Man. Oh, there's that's a great moment. Oh, that's cute.
And it's weird to think, that's Ashley there, who's probably 35 or 40 now. So. Betsy again. And Kristen.
Yep.
I think of all the folks who I know have gone on to be teachers and occupational therapists. There that looks like 90s dress.
Yep, there's mm-hmm.
But so yeah, definitely pretty much smiles almost everywhere you go.
Yeah, I tell you, it and you capture it so well. Oh man. Man, look at that. There's Eric right there. Little E-Love. Yep. He was my best friend growing up through camp.
There's JD.
JD, yep.
Yep.
Aw. Some of these are priceless.
There's Catherine.
Yeah, there's Catherine Young there.
Josh. Yep.
Adam again.
There's Josh again.
Wow. Oh, the water slide. We take a giant rope and go down that thing. There's Josh again.
Yep.
Look at the look of it.
That's when the dorm was being built.
Yep. There's Elena again. She was such a sweetheart.
She was.
I remember her, but I cannot think of her name.
Oh, Sarah. She's passed away.
You're right. That was Sarah. Yeah. Man, you remember them better than I do. That was Betsy. Not Betsy. Regina. Getting her hair washed. I know Rainy's in there somewhere.
Yes, there might have been that last one.
Mm-hmm. Toga party. I remember those. Oh, that's a great picture.
Parham.
Oh, yeah.
There's James Skeeter.
James Skeeter. There's James again. Young James. There's Helen. She was my counselor.
All right. And JD again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a young me with hair.
Oh, look at that. There's Devin.
There's Jason.
I don't remember him.
He might have been in an adult session by the time you got there.
That's a great picture.
So some of these might be from adventure camp and that sort of thing.
Wow. Got about 3 minutes left of memories, but like I said, Miss Wilson gave us a little extra time, so we're good to go to finish out the slideshow. And that's why I love having a boss like that. She works with me. Cool. There's Eric again.
E-Love, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's Jason.
Yep.
At the camp out.
Yep.
Doing laundry. E-Love.
That was the merry-go-round, which was adapted, or the swing that was adapted for.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So if you didn't have leg control, you could pump with your arms.
Yep.
That's Blair. I forgot about Blair.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Tucker and Kim.
Kim was awesome.
Brandon.
Yep.
And that's Tina. There's Chris Morgan.
There's your adaptive horseback riding with a back supporter.
There's Clay.
Yep. Young Clay too.
Lindy.
Mm-hmm. Deb.
Davey.
Oh wow. Sitting in the helicopter.
Helicopter.
Parham again.
Yeah.
His counselor was Elizabeth. I remember her. I had a huge crush on her. She was 18. Man.
I have no idea what I'm doing there. But there's young DJ.
There's me.
Young DJ, yeah.
Yep.
And holding fire sparklers, yeah. Barbara.
She was a fantastic individual. Melvin,
yes, and Regina.
Melvin and Regina.
Kristen.
There's Brandon again. Young Brandon. Wow. Oh, man. Oh.
And Eric.
Yeah. Eric, he was the sports director for a while.
Yep. There's you again.
There's me down there. Oh, that's the moment right there. That was on the Camp Easter Still magazine.
Yeah, it's like on the cover of. It's bigger than that even. The American Camping Association book of all the camps. I made the cover.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't think they put that out anymore. It's just all online. But
yeah, my picture ruined it.
yeah, I don't want to bring that up. But
what a great. That's all the staff. That's so cool.
Don't try that at home.
Oh man, look at that. That. Oh, I would have lost it right there. That's the end of the session. You know, that's the end. What a beautiful shot of Happy Day Lake, man.
It's a little trip down memory lane.
Yeah, man, this was great, and I'm glad that we were able to do this. Thank you for showing that and for being part of that. That brought a lot of memories back for me, and to think that I know most of the people in those pictures, and I can remember going back to the shot when I saw Melvin and Regina. I remember that moment. I remember we were in the same unit. So I was back behind the tennis courts working with Todd on something, and I turn around and I see Melvin and Regina, and you got that shot. I remember when I'm like, what are you taking pictures over there? To remember all this. Do me a favor and just, if you'd like to share any closing thoughts, any closing words that you have for our viewers. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it so much. Anything you want to say for?
Just it's been a great experience for me. I love that you keep this community alive and keep going. And I love showing my videos. Unfortunately, I can't put them on YouTube because of music copyright laws. Because I had them up on, I guess, Vimeo for maybe a year before they got caught, and then they had me take them all down. But I love to share them.
It should be a way to put them up with just that you're just doing it for fun. You're not trying to make money on it, it's sad because those are a lot of memories and good stuff. Please keep taking your photos. And, thanks for being a part of this. If you want to come back again, we'll talk to you in about 6 months and part 3.
Awesome.
Because I'm going to tell you, I'm going to back camp. You mark my words. It's going to happen. I don't know when. But I know that it's needed. I know that it's something that's needed for a lot of people. And I pray that you're still around when it happens, because that moment, as I told you, I was going to bring you back, even if it's just for, a stroll, to go. I just want to see it as it was before and just walk through it. It doesn't have to be anything. That's my thing. And now it's all different. I'm like, dang. But
it's still the same here, right?
Yeah, that's what makes it. That's what makes it. Do you know what happened to the love wall?
I don't know. I knew a lot of we had some family stuff on the love wall. I don't know whatever happened to the love wall. So
and the moose, because they
I think the moose went to Camp West. We got a big moose, and I think that's now at Camp West.
Well, he will live
which
on.
is really just called Camp Easter Still UCP now.
Yep.
But I still call it Camp West.
Yep.
Sorry.
Well, Devin, it's been a great time. Thank you so much for being part of the show. Guys, if you want to be part of the show, please do me a favor. Send me an email at carterdj85@gmail.com. Please include in the subject line, possible guest for My CP Does Not Define Me. Include a bio about yourself and a picture of currency that I can use for the flyer if the flyer is made. If you guys want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at My CP Does Not Define Me. Actually, and I want to catch this before. Also, Twitter, My CP Does Not Define Me. YouTube, My CP Does Not Define Me. Chairmaster Games, My CP Does Not Define Me. Chairmaster Games, and then also Worth the Wait Cooking with DJ Carter. And finally, my blog, CarterDJ85 at Wix.com. gmail.com. Those are the ways you can find me. Miss Wilson said, would you think about being a speaker at this year's CP conference in March? We will get the information out soon.
Sure. Let me know, and we'll see.
I got you.
I have to have my video. I have to have video though.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And I will definitely, we keep in contact because
cool. Yeah.
You're right here.
Yeah.
So. But guys, I always say, if you can't be good, be bad, but be good at it. We love you. Thank you so much. Devin, hang with me for just a minute. Sure. We'll see you next Wednesday for episode 79 and doing fine of My CP Does Not Define Me. Take it easy, everybody.
Thanks.
All right, everybody. That's going to do it for this week's episode of My CP Does Not Define Me. As always, you can catch us every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on the Disability Global Broadcast and Facebook Live. If you haven't already checked out our YouTube channel, My CP Does Not Define Me, we post all of the show videos in our My CP playlist. I'm your host, D to the J with the roll away. And if you can't be good, be bad, but be good at it. We'll see you next week.